What's up, guys? Bluntcuts here. This is a Watch Our Realms video, and tonight we're going to be talking about exclusive artifacts. Specifically, we're going to talk about Valeriya's exclusive artifact, the Serpent's Kiss. So, during the ultimate, for each attack dealt, increases crit damage by 10%, stacking up to 3 times. Sounds pretty underwhelming, doesn't it? Spoiler alert, it is. What's not underwhelming is the way that this promotes this. So I do want to highlight that. I think at level 10, like we have it right now, it's not going to be all that competitive. However, if you look at the way that it ascends, so level 2, during the ultimate, for each attack dealt, increases crit damage by 15%, stacking up to 3 times. So that's a 5% increase from 10% to 15%. If it continues on that trend and gives you 5% extra per rank up, you're talking about an increase of 25% on top of what it is. So that would be increases crit damage by 35%, stacking up to 3 times. So that is 105% crit damage during the ultimate. That's nothing to sneeze at. I don't know that there's another artifact in the game that can match that, but as far as just raw crit damage increase anyway, I don't know that it's going to translate into being better than the Wailing Skull, which is what we tested it against. The Wailing Skull, especially when you consider Valeriya does gain increased attack based on her health, so the lower it gets, the more attack she gets, I think up to 60% when she has 30% or less HP. So the rank 25 Wailing Skull, dealing damage, has a 40% chance of summoning 1 Shadow Guard with 150% of the hero's attributes to attack enemies for 10 seconds. The effect can be triggered as often as 1 time every 20 seconds. So in an ideal world, you've got 50% uptime on that. If it triggers as soon as that 10-second internal cooldown does expire, that would be an ideal case. I think the variations that you do see in the output that I've recorded when I've done these tests is largely due to how long it takes before it's triggered. You know, Valeriya does have a, let's see, how fast do I have her? She's got 344 attack speed, so she is on a 1.5 second interval. I think on average it's going to take between 2 and 3 attacks to trigger that Shadow Guard, so it could be up to 4.5 seconds past that internal cooldown. When you do trigger it, that is going to produce some inherent RNG. However, the results were relatively consistent with a little bit of an outlier, but nothing too crazy. What I did for the test, I just want to show you my methodology here. This is the Nightmare 1 guild boss, Valeriya. Because she's a badass, she can just survive the entire thing all the way to the end. So what I did was I went in here, I clicked play test, I went into the game mode, and as soon as I was able to, pull Valeriya out, drop her there, turn on auto ultimate, turn on 2 times, and then just let the run. And it goes all the way to the end. She does die with 2 seconds left, right as the dragon pops up. I don't actually know that she's getting that final big hit from her final ultimate, but she is in the ultimate at the very end of the fight in this gear. So that was kind of cool to see that happen. It did line up very, very well. But what we see are a pretty stark difference between these 2 artifacts. I've done a few of these tonight using testing heroes with kind of the generic mythic artifacts, the class-based mythic artifacts, if you will, as opposed to their hero-specific exclusive artifacts. And more often than not, the results were pretty close, which in and of itself is a little bit surprising, because you would think that all of the artifacts that I tested, the non-exclusive artifacts that I tested, were all level 25. So you would think they would have a major advantage there, but the exclusive actually held their own in most cases. Not in this one, though. So let's take a look. I'm going to quit out of this, because we don't need to watch the entire thing, because it's a little boring, and I've watched it enough times tonight. But let's take a look at some of these numbers. So, oops. Get rid of that Nightmare Heroes thing. We don't need to see that. That is left over from my Lust breakdown. But here's what we're looking at. So, level 10 exclusive, average damage across 5 runs, 38,732,000 and 52,520. So this is the way that the game outputs it. It's 38,732 thousands is what the game says, and that converts to 38 million. So you can see the consistency here. 4 of the 5 results were the exact same, and I think that's just due to the fact that as long as I dropped her at the exact same time, I think that if you look at this one, this is probably 1 hit or something like that. There is a about 70,000, 74,000, 75,000 difference there. So that is likely one hit from Valeriya that did not go out because I dropped her a second too late. Other than that, the results are all exactly the same. And how do you like that for consistency? So despite that, the result that we got, the average is 38,732,520. The Wailing Skull, on the other hand, did an average of 53,675,740. Good God, that is a gigantic difference. There was a difference. I did a Twin Fiend test earlier where I tested the a Tear of Twilight versus a Nightmare Samsara, and the Nightmare Samsara does not provide any direct damage. It just increases Twin Fiend's rage, and the difference was not as big. And yet, in this case, the level 10 exclusive just got absolutely walloped by the Wailing Skull. Wailing Skull can be kind of awkward to use, particularly in Guild Boss. Again, this is not really a Guild Boss test, despite the fact that I did test it in the Guild Boss. The Guild Boss is basically just a target dummy. I wanted to see raw damage output of the non-exclusive versus the exclusive. Of course, acknowledging that, you know, the level 25 one should be better, you would think. Certainly by virtue of the fact that it's providing extra attack, you could just because it is level 25 versus level 10. But I never expected to see a difference this huge. As much as I thought that the artifact was underwhelming going in, I kind of figured that I must be missing something, because why would they make something so goddamn bad? Or maybe it's just the Wailing Skull is so goddamn good. I could have also tested her in a Realm Tear, whatever it's called. I didn't, and quite frankly, it's a little late right now, so I'm not going to do that tonight. Maybe I will come back and revisit this in the future. I do want to do some testing that is more focused on the Guild Boss itself, but that would require bringing in a team to complement these different heroes to really make sure that we're seeing what these artifacts perform like when they've got, say, like Dolores, you know, providing inspiration, when they've got, in the case of Valeriya, probably some other Nightmare DPS to increase her attack speed, things like that. And maybe the level 10 exclusive pulls ahead a little bit, but I'm guessing not really, would be my guess. But I think I would like to see what this looks like with a level 25 exclusive and see if it's more comparable. I don't think that adding another, essentially, what would it be? Another 75 crit damage is really going to bridge this gap. We're seeing a 25 million difference in average output between these two trinkets. And you can see the relative damage that we've got over here. The Wailing Skull at 100% because it was our maximum damage. The exclusive is 27.84% less than the Wailing Skull. Biggest disparity that I've seen all night. Don't love it. Not great for Valeriya. She is fantastic, though, and I guess as long as you can bring a ranked up Wailing Skull, it doesn't matter how bad her exclusive is. I just hope you don't pull it like I did. But, you know, what can we do? RNG is RNG, right? You do see, speaking of RNG, some variation in the Wailing Skull outputs, like I was talking about before. I think that's largely due to how long we had to wait for the procs in different cases. So this is a pretty significant gulf between the top and the bottom. So the bottom damage that I had on this run was 51,775,200, and then the top was this one at 56,463,000. So we are talking about a difference of what? That's like 5 million damage, basically, a little less than 5 million damage. That's not insignificant. So if you're wondering why sometimes on your Guild Boss runs you have significantly more blood, some rather than others, if you're using a Wailing Skull, you may know why. I mean, I haven't tested this on other heroes as well, but I imagine that there's a similar disparity there. It's probably diminished on heroes that attack more quickly. Valeriya is, I believe, 2.6 second base attack speed. I had her, like I showed you before, at a 1.5 second attack speed, so something to keep in mind. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this is helpful to you. Again, this is a raw damage test. It's not meant to be, you know, authoritative as to which one is better in the Guild Boss. Although in this case, I think you can pretty confidently say the Wailing Skull is going to be better, assuming you can accommodate it and you don't need those extra ground tiles that the Shadow Komodo may potentially take up. But anyway, guys, like I said, I hope you enjoy the content. Please like and subscribe. I hope you all have a great night.